Well, good evening. Welcome to Grover Hill Zion United Methodist Church's Thursday evening devotions from around the kitchen table, where for many weeks now we've been talking about the history or the stories behind some of the great hymns of the church, some of the beloved hymns of the church that we've sang sometimes since we were very young, and sometimes some of the more recent hymns as well. And why they're so meaningful to us, because we can relate to those things. Tonight's hymn is an old hymn that's been around for probably about 70 years now. It's titled, "I've Got a Mansion Over the Hilltop." Beautiful song. You can probably hear it in the background, and we'll get into that in a moment. And you know, when I think of the mansion over the hilltop, I think as I stand and I look back over the horizon, you know, here in this flat land that we live in, we can look out and see an awfully long distance, can't we? But the horizon, sooner or later, it comes to an end. What is the horizon? Something like 17 or 18 miles away. And we know that our mansion is beyond that horizon. It's over that hill. In Europe, a lot of Europe, they can't see as far as we can see, or many places in this country as well. So I think about Jesus' promise in John's Gospel, chapter 14, verses 1 through 3, where Jesus is comforting his disciples. They're concerned about some events that are taking place or going to take place very, very soon, as Jesus is telling them that he's going to have to leave them. And so in the 14th chapter, verses 1 through 3, Jesus tells them, listen, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many mansions, and if it were not so, what I have told you, then I'm going to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you to be by myself or with myself, so that you can spend eternity with me. It's a great, great promise. Now, we don't know when that will be, do we? Not yet. We don't know. We do know that it'll be sometime very, very soon when our life is over here and we depart this world. And we go over that hill that's at the end of the horizon back there. And one day we'll land upon that room, that mansion, that house that Jesus has built for us. You know, I do know, though, that that's a great thought, being with Jesus, living in that heavenly home forever and ever. You know, that's a thought that holds me and keeps me close to Christ. It makes me desire nothing else but Christ. Well, anyway, mansion over the hilltop. The story behind the song, it's kind of an interesting story, I think. It was written by a man by the name of Ira F. Stanfield in 1949. Now, Stanfield was a very gifted and talented musician. He had been playing the piano and the organ and other instruments since he was just 10 years old. He was composing songs and singing by the age of 17. He went on to become a pastor, and he was known as a singing evangelist. Ira Stanfield was inspired to write "Mansion Over the Hilltop" by another minister, one or the other of these, the Reverend Albert Ott or the Reverend Gene Martin. Whether it was during a sermon or a conversation, it's not clear, but Stanfield heard the following story, and it inspired him to write mansion over the hilltop. One day a wealthy man facing bankruptcy took a drive through the rural part of the country. And as he passed one particular house, it caught his attention. It was needing a paint job and many repairs. The broken windows were, glasses were replaced with just oil paper. We don't know what that is so much anymore, do we? Oil paper, but that's what they used to cover windows with. Many of the shingles, as well as part of the roof, were missing. And it made him wonder how the house was even standing. And he saw a young girl about the age of 8 or 9 who was poorly dressed and was playing in the front yard. And so the man felt compelled to stop and talk to the young girl. And in their conversation, he mentioned how sorry he was that she lived in such a poor surrounding. And the little girl excitedly asked him, "Why, haven't you heard? My daddy just inherited a fortune, and he's building a mansion just over that hill over there. Don't know when it's going to be done, but I won't have to live in this house forever." Isn't that the truth? We won't have to live in this house forever. We don't know when. We know it'll be someday soon, whether it's 10 years or 30 or 40 or 50 years or whatever it is. We know one day our home will be complete, will be finished. Well, Stanfield wrote the song that evening, and he was singing his song in a few days. Ira Stanfield was inducted into the GMA Hall of Fame in 1981 and published his autobiography, This Side of Heaven, in 1983. By the time of his death on December the 30th, 1993, he had written over 550 gospel songs. Some of his better known songs, and you may be familiar with these, are I Know Who Holds Tomorrow, Follow Me, Room at the Cross for You, Supper Time, and He Knows What He's Doing All the Time, just to mention a few. Elvis Presley, as well as a number of other artists, have recorded this song. This song that you're hearing now is by the Gaithers, where they have a big group sitting there singing. You've seen those as well. So as I close this part of it out, let me just share with you the first verse and the chorus to this song. And I encourage you to look it up online as well and just listen to it. The verse begins, I'm satisfied with just a cottage below, a little silver and a little gold. But in that city where the ransom will shine, I want a gold one, that silver line. I've got a mansion just over the hilltop, in that bright land where we'll never grow old, and someday yonder we will never more wander, but walk on streets that are purest gold. What a promise. How could you ask for anything more? Well, I hope you have a great and blessed week.